I want to jump to this next story here from the post-millennial. We got a lot of post-millennial stories today. FBI's former top profiler warns of potential for contagious copycat crimes in Nashville after school shooting. Following such a shooting, O'Toole said that communities should remain on alert for up to 2 weeks due to the potential for copycats. Quote, in 2000, when the FBI released its first report on school shooters, we found that the copycat influence was powerful, and it influenced the 18 cases that we studied. This report was compiled in the wake of the Columbine high school shooting, which claimed the lives of 13 people. O'Toole said that she believed the shooter's manifesto should not be released in that case over fears of the contagion effect. Now, that's a fair point.
Oh, I agree.
But I also want to know what's in the manifesto, because
But they're censoring it now.
Right.
People can't see is, we're conducting our investigation. But no offense, trust me, part of that is they don't want you to know. So they'll say that. Just like when all the pictures emerged, of her, it was like, take him down. When they said, identifies as, he, him, and they started taking him down one after the next. People were screenshooting him to preserve it so the public could actually see before they could shapeshift the narrative.
Well, here's the debate. If this manifesto comes out and many of these far leftists agree with it, this manifesto could be a direct call to incitement. It probably is. Direct call to violence. So if it is, and I assume it is, should it be released? The alternative is I think we need to know what motivated this so we can stop it from happening again.
You're 1,000% correct. I was literally just going to say that. How can you stop and prevent something from happening in the future if you don't understand it and identify it and study it? I mean, it's just, that's like blissful ignorance going to end in a fatal conclusion.
My concern with the manifesto being released is that it would be doctored and then sent out with a political agenda. I mean, there's no way to trust a document that we see now. Like, I don't want it. Look at the video footage if you want to see what she was doing. Let's get her medical history now. She's no longer has her rights. She waived those rights to medical privacy after she killed all those people.
I agree. I think if they're not going to release the manifesto and they're going to cite copycat fears, I'm fine with it. I will then choose to assume the motivations, and I think it's fairly obvious. So unless they want to present any evidence to the contrary, this is clearly a far leftist gender ideologue who killed Christians because Christians are trying to stop the mutilation of children.
Hate crime.
Yeah, well, even then it won't matter because it'll be called gender affirming care, and it won't matter because the average person who's uninitiated to what's going on in the world right now will see the Christians as aggressors in a lot of these cases because they're going to say, you're trying to prevent these kids. Like, you really do have to be steeped in not just the ideology, but the political ramifications of all of this together. Otherwise, it really does, because of how intricately the media is able to weave these stories together, they will come out looking like the bad guys. And if they can't, the media will just stop reporting on it like they always do.
If you let yourself play identity here, it'll get used against you. You need to focus on the drug use of this kid, this 28-year-old woman,
right?
And how long she's been on drugs. Has she been on since she was 14? That's the focus. Pharmaceuticals.
Is that proven here? Like I
haven't seen a quip about what chemicals she was using.
Okay. I mean, without knowing that, I would have to know that for sure if that was actually part of it.
If she's trans, there's a chance that she's on testosterone.
Okay, so she was actually doing the chemical process. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, where's the news?
Yeah.
I want to know.
That's never going to come out.
Sponsored by who? Who's sponsoring this? Yeah. Who sponsors the networks that are reporting on this?
But that's another thing about medical, safety and getting information out there. Because if there's people right now being really severely manipulated, into being like, who am I? Am I binary? Am I this? Am I he, she, my pronouns, all this stuff. It's like mind-blowing to me how quickly this has happened. And you see a story like this, no offense, you're thinking twice about all of this. I've got to become this person, that person. You hear all the horror stories of people regretting that they're pushed into this, whether it's by abusive parents, like the book that you mentioned, Tim, genderqueer, going through that, growing up in an abusive, environment and just questioning, your identity, or it's bad to be a woman or it's bad to be a man. toxic masculinity. People, then no one wants to be a man. Now I want to be a woman. Oh, it's terrible to be a woman. Now I want to be a man. I mean, it's insane. The back and forth and back and forth. If you see a situation like this, hopefully people are going to say, wait, I want to read about this. I want to understand. And maybe it gives you some reflection, personal reflection in your life about the choices that you're making and how you're being duped and totally brainwashed by this, by the media and by these groups that actually are trying to literally identify what you might be, despite what you're born, at birth, and teaching people in hospitals to identify, well, this person may be binary, this baby that's like 3 minutes old, or it may be a man instead, or a boy instead of a girl. Like, how is this even happening? This is what they're educating people about.
Yeah, I want to give you a little life hack. Society's going to tell you what they think you are. You get to tell society what you are.
Real quick. The Hill and the New York Times and many others are reporting the shooter was under doctor's care for an emotional disorder, but they did not disclose the specific treatment.
Okay, so I don't know what's the legality of if a murderer do they waive their rights? Even a dead murderer, do they have rights anymore?
I mean, what is their right to privacy now that they've committed a heinous, horrific crime? By the way, not open to speculation. Caught on video. Not like this isn't a whodunit. We know who did it. The person died at the scene. Officers responded. Now we're getting this information. The public has a right to know. There should be transparency here for the purpose of public education, to know what transpired here, because otherwise they'll continue to lie and tell us it's this, and try to, modify, shapeshift the whole narrative so that it's something that suits their ultimate ideological, pathway and endgame. And that's why I have a problem with it. I want to know the facts. I want to know what's actually in the manifesto. I understand, I guess I have a great concern about, public safety or copycats and encouraging this. And, I had a lot of colleagues, at Fox that say, and one of my great colleagues, a great friend of mine, Greg Gutfeld, says, if you continue to report and do this, it makes highlights for copycats and it encourages people to go out there and repeat these crimes if we're giving it energy, if we're giving it life and breathing into it all the time. But there has to be a balance between responsible reporting to not encourage it and create copycats, and also allowing the public to have a right to know the facts, etc. Because rightfully so, we have become distrustful of the corporate media and the narrative that they push on us every single day, which, by the way, they have proved to not be trustworthy when we find out time and time again that what they told us was bold-faced lies. Yeah. And that's what I want to stop in this country, because this is America. We should be able to know. It's not North Korea or China or Russia.
Is there a precedent for a dead murderer, like their privacy being like, okay, now that this person's committed the crime, they're dead, we're going to autopsy them, we're going to find out all their medical records? Is there?
Yeah, well, put it this way. Say, for example, this was a case where the perpetrator was not, DOA, dead on arrival, killed on scene, officer interaction, blah, blah, blah. Then you would say this is an ongoing investigation, and because of that, we cannot release this information because it would jeopardize the nature of our investigation, the legitimacy of it, and our ability to be able to catch the ultimate perpetrator and bring them to justice. You don't have that here. And to your point, that's what you're saying. You have someone who we actually know who committed it, and now we actually need to know why, how this transpired, who else knew there was an issue, what kind of, culpable responsibility there is in order to actually make sure this doesn't happen again. Otherwise, you're going to see the same thing. It's going to be, Parkland, it's going to be Uvalde, it's going to be Waukesha, it's going to be all of these things over and over again without having an understanding that leads towards prevention and protection of public safety.
Who would we petition to get these medical records?
I love it. It's on the case. I love it. Well, I'll tell you what. How about the power of subpoena that Congress has? You've seen this right now. You see it with Jim Jordan and the rest of them in Congress that are calling for transparency. They have the power of subpoena to be able to bring people forward, whether it's the DA Alvin Bragg to understand what he's doing with the weaponization, politicization of the office, or whether it's the Twitter files and all the different investigations they have going on. They're saying, we actually want the information. We want the information. They could call for that here as well and say, we want to make sure we're going to subpoena. We want to know exactly what the hell happened here. We want to know what's in the manifesto. We want to know what you guys are hiding from us. And we, the people and who we represent, have a right to know. We have the power of subpoena. You will be forced to comply with it. No one is above the law, whether you're a DA, you're a judge, you're the lead officer investigating this, etc.
You could subpoena the doctor that was on. She was
you
under
could
the care
try,
of.
why not? And let's see what kind of
absolutely
privacy
we should.
protections. But you should, and you should say what's going on here. Now, of course, the doctor's going to be afraid about personal liability, etc. Did they know something was a crime? Confess to them, or the intention to commit a crime, the intention to commit, homicide, and do a school shooting or do a mass shooting like this. And we do know that one friend was DM'd about this, and there was a suggestion that she wanted to commit suicide, life was not worth living, that she was going to do something really bad, etc. Then everyone says, okay, well, is that person, should they be liable for failing to report? And there's all kinds of protections that go involved with that, whether it's attorney-client privilege, whether it's doctor-patient privilege. But when the person who perpetuated the crime and perpetrated it, commits it, is killed, then how is it that we have a responsibility to someone who is, it's not like an open question of whether they're guilty or innocent.
Yeah,
they did it.
I would be okay with offering immunity to the doctor and even anonymity. I'm not interested in hurting that person. Even if they said to the person, do it. Even if they were inciting it. I don't care at this point. I want to know the chemicals.
Yeah. And what was sort of the cocktail behind this? A history of, mental illness, a history of self-mutilation, a history of like gender dysphoria, narcotics, like who knows? But we do deserve to know, and we should know. Otherwise, what are you going to do? Operate in a vacuum going forward? I don't know. I think it's very dangerous.
I'm getting fed up with the last 20 years
irresponsible.
These shootings are getting out of control. I mean, obviously, they're not a controlled situation when they happen, but before 1999, I didn't know about school. They didn't exist in my mind. They weren't part of the natural discourse.
Right.
And to see more than one a year, it's just too much for me.
And if you don't find out the information, then they look for scapegoats.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.